Guys, Mark Goldberg here from Mark Vlogs Watches with a quick word for your friend and mine, ArchieLuxury, Paul Pluta, AC3, Archibald Chesterfield III. You know, he invented the quick wristwatch check, and the rest of us on YouTube, well, we just stole it. Help keep Archie full-time on YouTube by liking this video, watching this video, tell your fuckhead friends, and make sure to subscribe to his Patreon. And now, ArchieLuxury.
Hi guys, it's ArchieLuxury. ArchieLuxury, the true guru in the watch environment. And I gotta tell you, my good friend Mark Goldberg, he's released a fantastic video. And he's saying, is Rolex about to open the floodgates? Rolex supply increases, fact or fiction? And it was a very, very interesting argument that he put forward. And I got to tell you, I think Mark has raised many valid points. However, I must say myself, I think the big reason why Rolex is in such a huge demanded situation is the Chinese market. See, under communism, Mao Zedong, you could be really in big trouble for owning luxury goods. However, with the downfall of communism and the way the Chinese Communist Party has now become super self-serving and free enterprise in many ways there. China itself has got a huge wealthy class, industrialists and up-and-comers. And this has got a craving for luxury goods. And the number one brand they crave, Rolex watches. And I got to be completely frank and honest with you. I wish they were after Zenith. I wish the Chinese were after ArchieLuxury. Unfortunately, they're after a brand that I really love, which is Rolex. Rolex, that's correct. They really want their sports watches. And who can blame them? Who can blame them? If you've got the money, you really want sports Rolex. And if you're going to get sports, the best sports is Steel Sports. And I got to be honest with you, I really think the big reason that Rolex dealers around the world are now really they just are us dealers, is because the Chinese want Steel Sports Rolex. And if they can't get Steel Sports Rolex, well, what do they do then? What's the next choice? Well, then they will go and get two-tone sports. And they'll also maybe get gold. So I've got to be completely frank with you. I think the big factor is this rising middle class from China. They have very limited environmental laws, very little consumer laws. They basically do whatever they want, very little consequence, and they're making a shitload of cash. They want to buy Rolex, and that's why I think the world is experiencing such a shortfall of sports steel Rolex. But I got to tell you, let's take a look at my good friend Mark Goldberg. Let's take a look at his clip. Tell me what you think. Maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe the market is about to open up. Maybe Mark has got knowledge that I don't have. So take a look at Mark's clip and tell me, guys, what you fuckaroonies think of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, hey guys, this is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches. This is not a dead hamster, it is the wind cover for my lavalier microphone. And today we have an exciting video about what is expected to happen with the Rolex supply. There is a little bit of interesting gossip flying around out there that I would like to address. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, don't you hate when I say meat and potatoes? Before we get into it with this video, let's go ahead and do the quick fist watch check. And here it is. I take it as a personal favor if you'll please subscribe to my channel, and if you already do, thanks for being with me. Today, in honor of our topic, I am wearing a Rolex Submariner ceramic in 148 delicious grams of 904L steel. Guys, is the Rolex shortage about to end? Is Geneva, Switzerland about to turn on the spigot and empty the flood the fields with Rolexes of steel sports? Let's talk about this really quickly. Now, in order to get into the topic, we first must define terms. So let's understand that when we say Rolex, we're talking about multiple things. First of all, we're talking about the watch. Okay, so the product itself, of course, is Rolex. Secondly, when we talk about who sells Rolex, we are talking about two different types of Rolex vendors. One is the Rolex Boutique, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the brand, but primarily we will be talking about the Rolex Authorized Dealer. Now, the Rolex Authorized Dealer is merely a jewelry store who has a distribution contract with Rolex, the manufacturer, located in Geneva, Switzerland. So first, a quick word about Rolex Authorized Dealers. Most of them are family owned. And even a jeweler, and these are family-owned jewelry companies. So essentially they're small businesses. Now, even a guy who owns 2 or 3 or 4 retail jewelry store locations and is authorized to sell and or service Rolex at any of these locations, that's still a fairly small business. I mean, most of the ones that I'm familiar with are not only owned by family, but they're operated by family. I mean, families opening the store in the morning and closing it at night. And although certainly these are affluent people in a sense, they're very super hardworking people and the businesses are small. Imagine that you had to tie up hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in Rolex watches. Let's say 3/4 of them were Datejusts that God knows how long it's going to take you to sell them. And guess what? When Rolex sends you those watches, you don't get to say, this is what I want. They send you what they want you to have. And you know what you do when you get that bill? If you're a Rolex authorized dealer, you pay it, okay? They don't give you those watches on consignment. So just something to think about. It's not an easy business, and nobody would be happier than the Rolex authorized dealer to be able to fill their cases with the watches that you people want to buy because they want to sell watches. Okay, now that being said, the Rolex authorized dealer is purchasing watches from Rolex, the manufacturer, located in Switzerland. Now, the average manufacturer, let's say Breitling, it's owned by an investment group. Or let's say Blancpain, which is owned by a holding group. Swatch and Richemont own all kinds of brands, and they are essentially public companies who are forced to put out quarterly and annual financial statements. But Rolex, Rolex, you are in a different category. Hans Wilsdorf, the owner of Rolex, the founder of Rolex, and also of Tudor, its wholly owned subsidiary sister company, left Rolex in the form of a corporate trust, a charitable foundation. Now, in the United States, a charitable foundation has tax-exempt status, and according to the laws of the United States and tax codes, must release all sorts of information on a public basis in order to retain their tax-exempt status, and they must meet certain criteria. But guys, we're not talking about a United States charitable foundation with tax-exempt status. We're talking about a Swiss charitable foundation in the grand country of Switzerland. Now, I don't mean to demean Switzerland in any way, shape, or form, but let's just say Switzerland invented the entire concept of the secret Swiss bank account. So their laws are vastly different than what you are used to if you are in the United States or even in the United Kingdom or Australia. So Rolex, the charitable foundation and manufacturer of the brand in Geneva, Switzerland, they do what they want. They are not necessarily beholden to any government agency, and they're not even beholden to performance standards set by owners, whether corporate or public. They undoubtedly report to a board of directors, but that board of directors is able to think in very, very long-term increments. They're not thinking about, can we make money this quarter? What's our one-year plan to be profitable? What's our 5-year turnaround plan? They don't have to think like that, and consequently, they don't. So, as you know, I have predicted that the Rolex shortage is here to stay. It's going to continue for a long time. But there is a bit of information flying around the internet that I want to address. And that is that the grand shortage is about to end here in this year of 2019. Now, before we go to that, I want to say that all the Rolex authorized dealers throughout the world were required to get rid of their giant display cases which held Steel Sports Rolexes, because they were empty, right? They had these big cases on the left side of the store, and they were empty. They were not allowed to fill the empty cases with Datejust or Cellini or anything that wasn't Steel Sports. And then on the right-hand side, to the right of the empty Steel Sports, very big display cases, they had equally large display cases filled with Datejust, and to the right of that, they had a smaller case filled with Cellini. So Rolex required them to get rid of the big empty Steel Sports display cases. They were replaced with smaller ones. And were they filled up with Steel Sports? No, they were not. They asked I don't think they asked, I'm pretty sure they just instructed the authorized dealers to move some of the Datejusts over to the Steel Sports case and dot them with products so they wouldn't look completely empty. So my theory is that there is some relatively long-term change in the supply line that is not only here, but is likely to stay for a fairly long time. Otherwise, why would they go ahead and change out the display cases if it was a very temporary accidental shortage? Moreover, this shortage has been going on and intensifying. I mean, it started a couple of years ago and it's just gotten nothing but worse. So the spigot has been clamped down to a little bit of a trickle. Now, that being said, there have been rumors that the shortage is due to end, and let me tell you what I have heard from a reliable source. Reliable sources are reporting. I will not identify my source, but let's just say my source, I consider my source to be reliable and unbiased. And my source says that Rolex is informing its distribution chain that at some point in this year, 2019, that the shortage will ease up somewhat. Now, exactly what does that mean? Nobody knows. So let me give you my prediction. I think what it means is that in the fall, right now we are in June. It is June 17th on Rolex date time, June 17th, 2019. So perhaps by October 2019, we should be seeing a few more Rolex Steel Sports come into the authorized dealers just in time for Christmas. Now, does this mean that all of a sudden those new and smaller cases are going to be filled to the gills and you will be able to walk in there and purchase the blue steel Sky Dweller of your dreams, or the ceramic Daytona, or the Hulk, or the new Batgirl? Well, okay, I don't know, but let me just say I don't think so. Time will tell. I just don't think so. I think that the spigot is going to open a little. It's going to go from a trickle to just a faster trickle. And, the authorized dealers are under what I would consider terrible pressure. I feel like they are not our enemy. They are our friend. These are the people putting out money so that these watches are brought out into every major city and some smaller cities in the United States. These guys want more. They make money by selling watches. Now, I know you are going to say, and rightly so, that there are certain authorized distributors or dealers, certain ADs, pull shenanigans. They pull shenanigans. And some of them may be selling out the back door to flippers and gray marketeers, but that takes a special brand of authorized dealer to do such a thing. And I want to say that I feel like that's somewhat of a fluke. I think the authorized dealer can occasionally be complicit, some of them, in that kind of extra money-making activity. But in order to do so, they risk their distribution contract with Rolex. I mean, Rolex will pull a contract in a heartbeat if the AD doesn't meet all their obligations and regulations. And tarnishing the brand is not something that Rolex is going to tolerate from an AD. So although I do not approve of this kind of a shenanigan. I sort of understand what has driven certain ADs to do it, but I like to think it's a minority of authorized dealers that are doing this, maybe out of greed or desperation, but I don't think you should tarnish all of them with the same brush, because my guess is that it's a very small minority of these guys doing such a thing. So when the extra inventory hits the authorized dealer channel, I think what you're going to see is they're not so much going to hit the case. Now maybe there will be some in the cases, but they're going to be already spoken for before you ever get there in large part, because the authorized dealers have got this giant backlog of back orders. If you don't believe me about the back order thing, well then walk into an authorized dealer and ask to put money, even say, listen, I've got $1,000 in a credit card, just put me down for a Hulk or a Batman or something that's really hard to get. Ask them to take your money and hold it indefinitely. Just put me on the list and touch base with me once in a while and let me know where I am in that list. And most of them are not going to do it because they don't want to hold on to your money and have you nag them for 1, 2, 3 years. There's lots of people ahead of us in these lines. So I don't blame the AD for this. The one who is responsible for the shortage is Rolex in Geneva. If they would make more, the authorized dealer would happily take delivery and they would happily sell them to you. Nobody would be happier if there were 30 or 40 steel sports in the case at any given time. Nobody would be happier than the authorized dealer, because remember, they're making their chunk, they're making their pound of flesh. This is how they live. You know, they sell a lot of stuff that's not nearly as profitable as Rolex, so they would be very, very happy to have the inventory in stock that you wish to buy. So, I think you should be looking in the authorized dealer in the fall, and maybe you will find that for Christmas, Rolex has opened up the floodgates just the littlest bit. Now, I will be extremely surprised if they open up the matter of production heavy to the point where there are Rolexes stacked up in the cases, and then authorized dealers will compete with other ADs across town to be the one who sells watches, and they'll, in theory, start offering you 5 to 10% discounts. I don't think you should expect that to happen. But, okay, we've got one more elephant in the room. What if I'm wrong and Rolex just turns on the double spigot, double fists, all the flippers, and really ramps up the supply really big? What's going to happen? First of all, let me just say, if you're a collector of Rolex, it'll be a great thing, because it means you'll be able to go and get whatever it is you want, because you don't want a watch just because you can't have it, do you? No. I don't want a Hulk just because I can't get a Hulk. I don't want a Hulk just because it takes you like a year to get delivery of a Hulk, and that's if you're lucky. No, I want it because it's pretty and it's the green companion to this one. Guys, we got to be honest. All of us want what we can't have. So there is a certain extra, there's a certain little bit of extra fairy and unicorn dust that is in the air, the glitter surrounding any watch that we want, but is very, very difficult to obtain. It will definitely affect the collectability of watches if they're not so hard to get. I mean, the only reason that diamonds have been really expensive is because they were rare. Well, actually, De Beers really controlled the supply of diamonds, and so isn't that exactly what Rolex has been doing? Now, the diamond prices are falling apart a little bit due to the internet, but look at it like this. De Beers kept diamonds, in high price for, is it 200 years? Rolex isn't even close to that yet. What's going to happen to all those people who are holding on to ceramic Daytonas as an example, waiting for them to just go up and up and up? If all of a sudden you can walk into the AD and get a ceramic Daytona in a matter of 3 months, like the average Joe can just go in there, put down a deposit, come back in a few months and pick up his watch. Well, they are going to get fisted. That is what's going to happen. So I think the only people who should be nervous about that are the people who are not really in love with watches, but are selling, short. They're looking at Rolex like you would look at options and futures and Bitcoin. Those people may get fisted if Rolex even temporarily opens up the floodgates and starts to manufacture a bunch more watches. But as much as I would like to see those people suffer and burn, I don't really think it's going to happen. I really want you, me, all the collectors, people like us, to just be able to wear and enjoy the watches that we are so in love with, the product that we have so come to admire. But I have to confess, part of my love for the brand is the difficulty in actually getting one of the darn things. Tell me in the comments if you agree with me about this. I think if you are stockpiling Rolex, you could have a problem if Rolex starts making 20% more of them. And before I let you go, I want to pull out the Magic 8 Ball and I want to ask it if it agrees with me. Is Rolex going to be in relatively short supply for a long time? Guys, I'm going to show you what it says. It is decidedly so. Can you read that? This is Mark Goldberg with his Magic 8 Ball. You heard it here first. Rolex may open the trickle up to a double trickle, but it is not going to be a stream. The Magic 8 Ball agrees with me, but what do you think? Because nobody can be sure. This is Goldberg. Peace out.
Paint the sky your favorite.
Oh. Hey ArchieLuxury fans, if you're into luxury, then you gotta be into 66 Buick Rivieras. Check out my son and I, Alex, as we restore this beautiful 66 Buick.
Neighbors are having a picnic, you know, having fun and stuff. Me, I'm doing cars. It's what I've done my whole life.
Hey guys, it's Paul Pluta. I'm the method actor who plays Archibald Chesterfield III. Guys, I want to have a quick talk to you. Do you need to sell a wristwatch? Do you want to sell a piece for reinvestment? Do you have too many watches? Well, guys, I'm here to tell you that my good friends at Sydney and Brisbane Vintage Watch Co. are looking for quality wristwatches for their store. Now, Ronnie has instructed me to tell you guys that he is paying more than other dealers. That's correct. He pays top prices for quality pieces. So guys, if you've got a Rolex you want to sell, or a Patek, or anything, you want to sell a wristwatch, give the guys at Vintage Sydney, it's Vintage Watch Co. Give them a call. That's right, guys. They're paying good prices. They've always been very, very fair to me. And I got to tell you, they are nice people to do business with. I'm just trying to find their card here. Where did I put it? Look, ask for Ronnie in Brisbane, or Philip in Sydney. That's correct. They will look after you. Tell them Archie sent you. That's right. Tell them Archie sent you. They're paying top prices. That's correct. Brisbane and Sydney. Vintage Watch Co. Your premium place to sell watches. Tell me, guys, this is for you. Tell them Archie sent you, and they will give you extra keen pricing.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mark Goldberg for ArchieLuxury AC3, the Pontiff, Satan Deville. I want to sincerely thank you for having sat through this video, because I know it was awful, but you know what? You do it for the greater good of humanity. Thank you so much. Now, a couple of quick pieces of homework. Now that you've watched this video, I would like you to hit thumbs up. If you must, hit thumbs down, but if you'd hit thumbs up, I would especially appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a really nasty comment and tell him how awful this content was, but most importantly of all, the entire reason that I am linking up with ArchieLuxury in the first place. I am a published author. Let Dogs Be Dogs, available in bookstores, Amazon, and electronically somewhere near you. Remember, ArchieLuxury, he's not just a figment of your imagination.